Okay, so today, now what I'm going to present is I'm going to present um, a use case like one more DAG. We'll see one more DAG, and we're going to check. Sorry, we're going to check the ETL only in this process, like how we can extract. So when we say ETL, so the first step is we are going to extract the data. So and we are going to transform. We're going to transform. And the next one is we are going to load the data. But here in this process, where is the input? Input, and then same way output. Input, output. This is a process now for this. So in this process, right?
Okay.
In the last use case, in the last DAG, we discussed about the API connectivity. From the API, like we have downloaded the data. That is, in this process, I'm not going to use any other operators. I'm just going to use only Python operator. But how to mount the locations? Like as we are using a Docker, our Airflow is everything in a Docker, but the input is coming from the input folder. Output has to go output folder. Even in the real time, this is the same. Like for example, I'll explain about how we'll do this real time first. We have a NFS, network file system,
Okay.
right? This is the client location. So, and we have a Airflow cluster. We have Airflow cluster is there. So the for the database connectivities, yes, we have database credentials. For API connectivity, yes, we have API credentials. But for the network file systems, as both belongs to the client, and we can ask the client, we can ask the team, okay, we have a data in the NFS, right? And we are expecting the data into NFS, input and output. Um, so in this case, how this is going the locations. So this is important. You have to ask your client, hey, let's mount let's mount the locations, because why this is required. There is like from the before the NFS, the client have some other job is running, like it is going to fetch daily basis the data into NFS input folder, let's say. So that is already coming, but your job is taking from the input from the NFS. You just do the extracting and transforming and loading things, and then you can just load the output, because the output from the NFS to here, it is something different. I'll show you one use case how that I use the same process in the real time after this thing. Um, but uh, the input and output want to be NFS. There is a requirement, because the output of the NFS, they are using some other system for some other requirement. So that's different. So, but only for the scheduling related, they want to use Airflow here Airflow here for doing these transformations or something. And this is they want to schedule daily basis. That's the reason they are using this. They want to schedule this for this whole ETL process. Okay, so how we do this in our Docker on our local system. So as you know, um, let me share the- okay, so as you know, in the, in the DAX, right? If you're in Airflow Docker, if you see, we have DAX, data, logs, plugins.
Okay.
These folders are there. These folders are there. And if you observe in the Docker Composer file, we have mounted the locations, right? DAX is mounted, logs is mounted, plugins are mounted. So
Mm,
to your local to Airflow containers. So when you say Airflow project directory, I think about this project directory, the Docker location. In that DAX folder, logs folder, plugins folder. Okay. Now let's see. Here work. So Docker exec -8. I'm oh, I'm taking worker. I'm going to the bin bash. So I'm going in the Docker just to check is
okay.
everything is ready, all the files are there or not. So if you see here, this is my Docker. I'm into Docker container, and I have a DAX, right? You have a DAX here. This is my local, but this is not local, right? This is Docker, and this is local.
Okay. Yeah.
So DAX, logs, plugins. So like this we have these files came automatically from within a server. But if you see the highlighted the three blue folders, which are the mounted locations from my local to Docker Airflow.
Okay.
So now my requirement is now this is my requirement. My requirement is I want to load my input file here. So there is a there is a text file, let's say. There's a suppose log text file. I want to load this to input folder, and then I want to automatically mount into the Airflow. Let's say this is my Airflow Docker, but this input is my local, output is in my local. Now I want to give him a text file here. So the input file will go to my input folder. Instead of calling as input folder, I'll call as NFS, my network file system. In the real world, we call as the network file system. And the output also you want in file system because the input is coming periodically, like scheduled wise, automatically into my input folder, daily ways, for example. And output has to go to the some other system, some other dependent system. They have some jobs or waiting in the output folder, so they has to go on daily basis. So Airflow job is take data, execute, put the output immediately because the other jobs have dependencies for your Airflow output. So that is the job. This is very important. This is a realistic requirement. That's actually we used this type of requirement in so many projects, so many use cases. It's one of the requirement actually. I'll not say, oh, because of this we are going to use. Yes, of course, but there are some other requirements where we use some other operators, some other connectivity. Like in the last section, we discussed about API databases, like those things. Parallelly, we have this type of requirement. So in this, now we are going to create a DAG, give input, and then connect, do the three tasks. I'll call a single DAG, and we can call this as a task one, and this as a task two, and this as a task three, and then the result you can load to the output for like this. But if you see in our folder, we don't have any input and output, right? Just we have a DAX folder only. So what we can do here, we create folder called input. Okay, I'm just creating locally in my folder called input, and I'm creating output, one more folder called output. input, output. I just created my local. And do you think the folders will come automatically here? No, because if you see the mounting locations, we just given DAX, logs, plugins only. So
Okay.
now give the mounting location for
Input and output. Okay.
input. So this input folder has to go to the input folder in the Airflow. But in Airflow, there is no input folder, but it will create automatically.
Okay.
And output folder has to go to this output folder. The output folder is not in the Docker, it will create automatically. So whatever the files we have in the input or the output, everything will go, will move this way. Like it's like a mounting, it's like cloning. I don't like to call
Oh,
mount. It's like a mirroring. Whatever is here, it will come to here. Whatever is here, it will come to here. It's a mirroring. Nothing but. So now, whatever the changes is happening in any if you're changing a single letter, single word in the Docker Composer, you have to restart or you need to um, into the. Okay, sorry, I need to exit, right? Let me Control D.
oh,
I'll exit back and come back to your local machine and Docker hyphen compose hyphen F Docker up hyphen D. Let's see. So I'm just recreating the things because now the structure will match, the mounting locations will work. So let me restart again just to make sure that it will work. Okay, I'm just
oh,
clearing and now I'm going with the Docker exec F18 and then sorry, what is the Docker Compose PS? What is the name of the worker? This is the worker. Docker exec8 your worker name and up by /bin/bash. Okay. Now I'm into Docker. Do the LSC. We got input output, right?
yeah. Yes. Input
We got input
folder.
output. Yeah. So like this actually this job is not our job in real time because this job has to take care by the your DevOps team or admin team. They have to they'll give a they have to do these changes and they can mount these locations. The mounting part is totally by your network team, your admin team, security team only. They by default actually they will do mounting by default. It will be available. If not, we can raise a request. It total depends upon your use case requirements. If it is already there, you can use it. If it is not there, then you can request and they will create it. That is the
But here,
reason.
yeah,
Yeah, tell me.
we are using a Docker here for a training purpose. But
Yeah,
real time in our organization, we don't use Docker.
exactly. That's what I'm saying here. We will not use Docker, but
Yeah.
I think I removed, right? So we will not use Docker, but as I
Yeah.
said, we have a network file system in in the client location, and we have a Airflow cluster. So and we have Airflow cluster. The cluster we have, they're going to mount this way. So actually, whatever we are doing in the Docker, the same thing in the cluster. There's no difference. Only thing is this single node and this is multi-node. So there's
Okay.
only difference. And everything is same. Even they will use the YAML files, even they will take this type of integrations to install the cluster thing. So only thing is they will use a multi-node clusters. That's it. And here, the mounting, yes, we did here like this way in the coding, but here in the Airflow cluster, they will mount with the network file system. So this is in real time, they will do this process. Okay. So this is a common process. They have to build this type of connectivities to handle to access the data. Because like the client has different type of data is getting, right? So like different sources there. This is also one of the source. I'm sure every client they will, if they're using Airflow or anything, they will definitely integrate with their local network file systems so that they can access if they have any file requirements. They can access that. Okay, now the next step is I'm going to create a new DAG. Before that, let me load the data. I have a data in my data folder called a log data, which is I have all the log data information. So now what I'm doing is I'm just copying this data and I'm going to input folder, right? This is our input data folder. So I'm just pasting here. Why? Because why I'm pasting here? Because this is the way I'll call my input location into the DAG. So now the DAG has input and output, right? So we're going to give this. So this is my input, and now I need to give this input to my DAG. So this is my DAG. Okay, so that is uh, my that's my DAG. Right. In the DAG, what is my first step? In my DAG, first I need to read this file. Read this data, whatever the files we have in the input. Okay, so now what is the operator you going to use in this? Okay, now I'm going to start a new project, like a new tag. So I'm going to create a new file. So I can use this file as suppose ETL access, or let's say ETL process, ETL process file, let's say. Yeah, let me call ETL process dot Python file. Doesn't matter what is that. Okay, so in this, now I'm going to let me just define the file as a log name. Let me define. So ETL. My next thing is I'm going to import first. First, what is the first thing? I'm going to import the DAG, right? From Airflow, I'm going to import DAG. Import DAG. That's the default one.
Models.
Okay, and the next one is let me call the date and time. By default is
Data, put data.
import. I can call time delta. If it is required, I can use time delta.
Comma data.
Yeah, date time if required, you can use it. Yeah,
Oh,
date time. It depends how many packages we need. We can import anything. And here I'm going to use an operator called a Python operator. So from Airflow operators,
focus Python.
I'm going to use Python, import the Python thing. Mm, Python operator, sorry. Python operator. I'm going to use this the Python operator. And so here I'm going to call the first input file location. Let me split multiple ways like input file, and I'll call extracted file and transformed file, output file. I'm just making sure that the location input file is actually input folder. So I can give input folder slash the name of the file. Uh, Let me just rename, let me take the file name. I'm taking the file name and I'm calling here the file name. So this is my input location, right? and where you want output. Okay, I want to output in the output folder. This is output folder, but I don't have any
Okay.
file. Yes, I don't have any file, so I want to store the output file as I'll call result.txt. So this is my input, this is output. Extracted file, transform file, we'll give these details later when we're running the tasks. So
Okay.
now the next thing is, remember, don't start the functions directly, immediately. Just start with the DAG always. By starting with the DAG, will always give the clarity of what is the first task and what is the next task. And if the task has any dependency with the functions, you can create the functions. So first, I'll always recommend to start with your DAG. So DAG is equal to DAG. You can create your DAG.
Integrity.
So, and you can give your DAG ID. You don't require to put the DAG ID equal to something. You can just directly give. So automatically the functionality can take it. So the DAG ID, people, some people they'll give their own IDs. Some people they'll match with the project name, the Python code file name. I always recommend to use the Python code file name because it's not for you, it's for your team, so they can easily identify the based on the name of your code. Like for this, we did the same, right? For near real time, we used the same. So same way, we recommend to use this. But as you wish, actually, you don't. It's not mandatory to, but there are some standards we'll follow when we do in the projects, um, because that is for everyone. And the thing is, I think yesterday we discussed. Okay, there are some way to we can use some default the arguments. What do you mean the default arguments? The default arguments means
Not it.
you can define you can define your default arguments. So, for example, like who is the owner, like so that we know who is handling this DAG from the in the project team. So, for example, here I'm calling Venkat for this DAG, and I'm just calling some start date. In the start date, so I'm going to call the suppose this underscore ego. Just I'm starting directly this underscore ego. Um, and then email. I think we discussed about the email. This thing we are going to see anyway. We can give any email. Mm, Suppose test123@gmail.com. But this is not actually configuring email now. That we use
Okay.
a backend operator. The process is different. It's the default arguments. Because now it is not going to send an email. But that I'll show you later in the next sections, like when we have that operator is going to use. This is just default arguments, like where we can see who is the owner of this DAG. And I think yesterday we discussed about the retries, right? How many times the retries. So here you can just define like 5, 10, or one time. You can define number of times. And this is default arguments for every project. You can use this retry
Okay.
delay. As we discussed, time delta. And so here you can use when it's equal to, suppose I'm giving 5. So like this, you can pass this default the arguments, um, and these default arguments use, you can call as part of the DAG. Now I gave you outside of the DAG, but you can call here default arguments is actually equal to default arguments. So these default arguments will call all these default arguments, and it can use whatever is required.
Okay.
Okay. So next one is now once your default arguments is defined, we can define the schedule interval also, or we can just define if you want to add some description, we can add the description. Okay, so this is ETL, it's a log ETL dash something. You can add some description here. Mm, You can do it with the description. And if we have anything, so and we can give a schedule interval because every tag has to give some schedule interval, like a daily or uh, different way. So I'm calling schedule interval. So here is time delta. I can use suppose I'm saying every 1 day something like you can give at the rate daily or you can do it this way also for scheduling things. So that's the basic DAG definition. And once your DAG definition is created, now we can jump to the task one. So what is my task one? My task one is, as we discussed, so we want to read a file. I can call this as a extract file. So for this, I'm going to create one task called execute underscore extract. Um, Here, I'm going to call the Python operator and the Python operator task ID. In the task ID, again here also, they can give same or different as you wish, but always give always better format. And here, what do you want to call? Okay, I want to actually call. We discussed last session in last example, callable, right? Python callable.
What is called?
Call. So like you're calling a function, the function calling.
Okay.
You're calling a function. So now I'm calling DAG equal to DAG. In which DAG? So in the Python callable, uh, on the Python callable, yes, we can use a function. So that function you can define. Okay, as I said previously, first you call the task. In the task, you define what is the function you want to use it, and now you can start that so that you are in the process of the step by step tag task functions. So now I'm going to call the function.
Extract.
So I'm going to call the function called extract, and now I know already the data. Where is my data? In the input folder. You first check. We are already in the tag in the Docker anyway. So if I go to my input folder, see I got a file, right? So
Yes.
this is actually container. This is my local is mounted. So the folder is already mounted. So the files will come automatically. Now in my function, I'm going to say, okay, with open the file. What's the file name? I'll call input file because they have already mentioned my input file is in the input folder and the file. Yes, so
Okay.
the path is there. Yes, input folder. Um, I can directly call input file because we are passing the variable. So you can just call, I'm just using a reader and I'm going to call as in file open. I'm just calling when you are loading, just use storage as a extracted file. You work as out file. But if you observe here, I've not given the extracted file location. So what I'm saying here, you read the input and give to the extracted file location. So here, give you something. For example, I'm saying extracted hyphen data. .txt file, suppose. Nothing but reading and loading here. While reading and loading, I'm going to take it the data loading. How data loading? First of all, let's see the data. What is the data format? Always understand data first. So we have timestamp one, second column, third column, four, five, six columns I have. So what is the delimiter between the data?
Space.
Hash, hash, right? Hash.
Okay.
If you see the
Hash.
column headers, you'll get the idea. So the hash delimiter. So now here I'm going to call the requirement. I said ETL. Okay, you're extracting data, that's fine. But what is T? What is the T? What is the
Okay.
transformation you want to apply here? So my transformation has to take the timestamp and visitor ID. Okay, so I want to extract. I'm extracting the whole data. In that, I'm filtering.
Okay.
I'm
Timestamp
transforming.
and
I'm
okay.
transforming by using this timestamp and the visitor ID. So when I say filtering means like I'm going to extract these two, and
Those
the next
columns.
filtering is, yeah. So I'm extracting these two columns, and the next transform is I want to capitalize the visitor ID. So I want to make it this visitor ID as a capitalized format. So that's what my requirement. But if you see the columns, we have six columns, one, two, three, four, five, six columns. So what I can do here is while extracting itself, I can define. So this is, if you see in the data, zero column, one column, two column, three column, four column. So we need zero and we need zero, one, two, three, right? Zero and three we need, right? Now, I don't need the whole data, right? So I just need only zero
Two columns.
column and third column. So in the input file, that's the reason I'm extracting whatever I required from input file. So now here I'm taking and I'm going to call line by line for line in file. That's my input file, nothing but. And here I'm going to call my fields. In the fields, I'm going to split my data. How I can split my data? What is the delimiter? Hash, right?
Hash.
So split by the hash delimiter. Okay, if my length of fields is greater than or equal to 4, here what I'm doing is I just call my first field, right? First field. Where is the first field on the data? Zero field, right?
Yeah. Zero.
What is your loading? Say this in this my data I have fields. In the fields, I have a zero column. Okay. Now I want my third field of we started with one, so I can call four. But here in the array, third field.
Zero.
Right. So this data, only these two columns, I want to load to my output file. Yes, output file. Is the output file is available in the is the output file is a means extractor file, nothing but. So this extractor file is available in the Docker? No. Then how? It's create automatically. So the output file I'm writing. What are you writing? I'm writing with the field one.
Output file. Okay.
You got it? So this is not output file. This is out file. This out
Okay.
file is nothing but this aliases, means the extracted file, this extracted file. So, okay, if you have any confusion here, I can call ext file, so the extracted file. So I can call here ext file. So that's easy to naming convention. Mm, so field one, and I can define the delimiter is like you put whatever you want here because you are loading into the required. Oh, what I did. Oh, let's no here. Okay. Action. Oh, shift. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So delimiter is ash. Okay, and plus, and I'm taking field four. I think about this one, right? This one. So I'm taking nothing but at the end of the day, I'm taking these two columns only, and I'm going to add plus slash a new line. Okay,
Okay.
that's clear now. So this is I'm extracting. First, let's execute this step, and then we'll go to the other steps. So if you see here, let me check, please. Open open off extracted file. I'm writing alias output file and the for loop. Okay, let me call this global input file because I'm exposing this file because this file is out of the function. Okay, let me check what is error. And
So the red one is called as an error.
yes, that this red one is always call error. Sometimes it will go automatically. Sometimes it will stay. So that we need to check if something is blocking us. So I don't see any issue in this, but let's keep an eye. Extracted file, yes, it is there. Um, Defining extract with the open of input file. Yes, I gave the input file and alias in file. Okay, I just put the slash because the next line, right? Yeah, that's why I think there's a small thing here. But sometimes it'll take it as a new line. If it is didn't take new line as, we can put a slash. It'll take it as new line. Fine. So this function, right? We are calling here in the task. So now we have one task, which is extracted file task. So this is actually T1. T1. Okay, let's execute this first. So everything is clear. We got it. Now I'm going to call this task in the DOM so that the only one. Anything else? No. Okay, for this, I'll just put something. We don't require, but okay, let's leave it this. No problem. So now what is the requirement? This is my input file. This extract function is reading my input file and out of the data is splitting by delimiter called ash and is taking two fields, one which is the timestamp, one which is capitalized the ID. What is it? Visitor ID. Visitor ID I'm taking. So I'm taking these two columns only, and the two columns I'm adding with the ash, and I'm asking to load that data into ext file, which is nothing but extracted file, which is nothing but this is the output file, the result output file. But the
Okay.
file is not in the server. Now after when the DAG runs, the file has to come here. It will come here. Okay. So, okay, now let me go to the airflow. Okay. Airflow, airflow, I press it. What is the tag name? ETL processing log analysis. Let me refresh. Let me come out of the that. I'm just doing the sometimes. Okay, so let's. Okay, now let me refresh. This one is exiting. That's why.
Oh, okay. Init. Yeah.
Okay, we got one error actually. What is the error? From airflow operator from airflow dot operators dot Python import Python operator spell mistake. Operator. I used Python. Oh, here also we have spell mistake. That's why I think. Okay, let's refresh. One more error. Like names days ago. Let me check. Yeah, here is highlighted. I'm just starting the date. December ago. This one. It's a default argument. December ago. Rectify.
But it says quick fix, right? What is that? If you pilot.
This this will not work sometimes. Um,
Oh,
so they can use that the type as ignore. It is showing like ignore, but we can't ignore that. Okay, so let me. It's not taking correctly, but because we have not scheduled. Okay, let me use this later. No problem. So I'm just what else?
the guy is missing.
Tag is missing.
Date parameter, start date parameter.
Started parameter.
You have to add start date, I think. The dial.
So we have defined.
It's not defined start date in the default docs. We just removed, right? Start date.
Yeah, but it will take automatically. Okay, let me use the other one what we have used. Something. I'll just copy paste the same day year. So basically, the problem is this is not taking my system current time something. So it is not consuming. So I'm just calling manually. So you just use this. So now it can take. Okay, so it's fine. It doesn't matter actually start date. So
Okay.
because you want to execute the job. See, when I say doesn't matter means you want to see when we trigger a DAG means I'm going to execute my job daily basis by default. So if you have any client requirement, okay, you start from next week or next month, then you can define your exact start date time in this. So if we don't have anything, you want to start straight away, daily ones. You can just use any date, today's date, yesterday date, any date, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think you're there. What is the job name? What is our tag name? ETL process. This one, yes. So ETL process log analysis. Now I'm going to graph. See, we have only one task that we define, and I'm going to execute now. If we execute, what will happen? It will extract from my local input file, and it is going to extract the two columns and create a new file, right? Since
Exactly. Yeah.
now the job success. So now what is the file we are expecting in the Docker? The extractor file, right? So let me go to Docker exec into my container. Uh, you see that file? See, yes, we got it. We got it, right? So this is not there we have previously. So this is the file contains only the two columns. So
Yeah.
this file. So if you want to see, you can just see. I just put the cat and see. I got the two columns, timestamp and dash visitor ID. You got two columns. So one task is ready. Like this, you can execute step by step tasks. Or if you know everything that the process, then you can define. Like last time we did define everything and we executed. So or you can split like each task and run the each task, and then we can use it that purpose also. That way also you can use it. Okay, the next one is transform, right? So, transform. So in the transform thing, same. I'm just calling my tag. I'll change this to transform. This is execute extract, right? Let's say execute transform, and I'll put the task ID. And here I'm going to add my new function called transform. Suppose this function is not there. No, I'm going to create
Define transform.
define transform. Okay, so I'm defining transform. So in the transform, what is my requirement? Now I want to, so now where is the data? In the
It's in
extractor
the.
file.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now read the extractor file and load the result into transformed file.
Output folder, right?
No, no. So output folder is the next step. Okay. Next I need to check. So next I have a requirement. I want into a CSV file output. So um, I can load it as the CSV file format. Uh, but now this one. is nothing but I'm just reading transformed file in my Docker. So is that's nothing but at the end that's a result file only. Um, but that will get a array format, not into like a CSV file format. Okay, let's see now. Take any name. For example, I'm calling transport.txt, suppose. In this, if you see in the transformed one, same here, I'm going to take this same functionality. What I'm doing, I'm opening extractor file. This is my now in file, yes. And I'm loading into transformer file. I can use the transformer file um, with the external file. It doesn't matter. We can use anything here. I can call trn trn file. Let's say, suppose. And here, what I'm doing. So, what is our requirement? Now we got two fields, right? So here we discussed. We got two fields. In the two fields, we want to capitalize. What we want to capitalize? We want to capitalize the field, right? Which is we have in the visitor ID. So now here in the transformer one, I'm just going to read with all the data. That's the first test two per line in file. And I'm going to as the processed line. Whatever the line is coming from the source, you just make it upper, just like up. And then this result, the transfer file, you just write this processed line. That's simple. I'm not taking any complex
Yeah.
transformation. So I'm just taking, it doesn't matter actually if it's a complex or anything, the process is same. So I'm just adding a new line. So it will take an uppercase and then it will load as a transform file. So if you see this, when we call this functionality, the function will call the extracted data and it is going to read and take uppercases and loading into transform file. Right. So is this file is available in the Docker? No.
No.
You can check.
So,
So there is no transformed file. So, okay, now my function is ready. So can I put the dependency? Yes. So the task one, dependency with task two. So we are good. Now let's go and go to the job or refresh. Refresh. Okay. Now I'm going to play, execute. So I have executed. So two are completed. So which means you'll get a new file here, right?
transfer. Yeah.
You got it right. Transform.txt. When you do cat. So here we got the result. This is the what actually we're expecting. So this is fine. This is the what we are expecting. But
So
the
you
next one
can.
is,
Okay.
it's sorry, yeah. The next one is I'm going to take this into output file and then I will load the output file into the output file location. But then what? So what we are doing here is the next one is we are going to check the file. In the check the file, that is this is actually array. This is actually array format normally. So this one you want to do the transformed file. So we can read the file and then you can write a file and adding with the new lines. So actually this is our result. But normally when you see sometimes not into the new lines, you can change. Mm, it doesn't matter. Okay, but let me add. if you have any other transformations. So I can call directly now. Just calling checking just to check and add a lines. So callable and the callable, I'm just calling check, only check. Check function is there? No, let me create. I'm just taking same function, so I can just reuse check. So in the check, what I'm doing, in the check, I'm going to read data from extracted file, from the transformed file. So you open the transformed file. Where is the file? Here, transformed file. Okay, and load into output file. Output file. Uh, we can use this same, doesn't matter, but I'll just call output file. I can call anything, trn file. Okay, for line in trn file, so I'm processed line. Now I'll just remove this. We already already uppercase in the above. So I'm just reading a data, and then I'm just opening the output file. I can call like this directly. I can call open because this is the last one, right? So I can call directly like this. I'm opening the output file. Yes, yes. You go and read the data. Read the data, and
Okay.
here per line, I'm just calling reading, and here print. I'm just going print line. So what is happening in the folder in this file is it is going to write this file into the file. So I'm just printing data. So like this, you can do it. And this one, execute check is dependency with this, right? Yes. This is not giving much transformations, but you can just use it just to loading to writing into reading file. Okay. Okay, right. So now refresh. Actually, now this time, if you observe the extracted file, transfer file, I'm not loading into my NFS, right?
No, yeah.
Here, I'm just loading only the output file. I'm loading into output folder. So this result, I'm not storing. I'm just it is just storing in Docker in the cluster, but not coming into my NFS. It's not required. We don't require
Oh,
intermediate results. We required only the final result. So
output file. Okay.
that's why I have not mounted those locations. So now if you see, I'm going to run the job. We got the job, yes, refresh. And now I'm going to execute. When you trigger the dash, an issue not found in the config output file. Okay, it is not able to find the output location. Just let me just check quickly in the Docker. Do we have this output folder? Yes, we have cd output. Yes, the output folder is there. Then inside, yes. Then why? Then what is the problem? Output slash result dot txt define the tag with output.
But output file down is not exist, right? It will create
Output file is
just
not exist, but it has to create.
okay.
It is not created. It's saying that. Okay, I got it. The problem is actually the output file. I'm loading. Let me do one thing. Let me call global output file. Yes, one. So we saved in the output file, right? Where is the output file? In the transformer one. Oh, here we save this.
Right.
Oh, we missed. Oh, we missed the loading one, right? So this one, we missed the output file. So this output file has to load first. So we can do one more step. What we can do is, or we can combine that loading step here also. We can load one more step. Let me call load. Or actually, this step you can call as load, but that is I'm just using for checking. So I can just call load. Doesn't matter. So I'm just using load. Now in the load, um, I'm going to use one more functionality. So this is very important when you are playing with the big data, the huge data, and mainly on the more transformations because we are using different functionality. So in the load, what we are doing is we are going to I'm going to use the same thing, but I'm going to call the transformer as a source, right? And we need the output file, right, for this. The result of this function is output file, so that
Oh,
it will come. It will come. But here uh, we don't require any upper cases because the data is already transformed. Just load only per line in file. I'm just doing this result, the transfer. I'm writing the line only. Yes. So now I'm using the bit open or line in file. Okay. So what is the output file? This is output file. Right. Now let me go to this. What is the function? Execute.
it's good.
Nothing but just use the one more function to load from this result into output file. This is only checking. So this is only checking. So as part of the checking, the file is missing. So it is asking the load file is not there. Uh, Now let's refresh. Let's trigger the DAG. Okay, now the four success. So extract, transform, load, finally is checking the data locations. Okay, but what is the output file? Is in the output folder result. But previously we don't have, right? Now if I do ls,
Yes.
see I got the file. I got the result. So if we do cat and this one and this data, this file is
Yeah.
mounted to my NFS, right? My local file system, right? See, I got it here. You see, previously it is
Oh,
not there. Now we got into output folder
yeah.
because the input output is mounted. So by default,
Field.
what, yeah, exactly. By default, whatever we have is happening on the Airflow cluster. These folders is mounting, so everything will be mounted automatically. Suppose if I delete this and if I re-execute, this execute checking is nothing but checking all the data and then loading. See, I got it right.
Yes.
So like this you can do it. So if you see this process, we have dependency. We use the four Python operators to check, um, and then actually here you can use a lot of transformations. We will see next classes about using pandas, how we can use Python operator for doing the transformations things. We don't require to use these type of hard code Python uses. We can use directly pandas to read and write in one line statements. Just one line statements you can read and you can write. We don't use a loops or conditions. These are all, it's not required. Uh, so pandas are very flexible for this type of transformations, very friendly things. We will see that in the next in the sections about pandas connectivity. Okay. So if you
In
observe this, the whole process, we have we used three tasks. Actually, we used one more as the check. Uh, we can specify that. So by default, output file is coming from here only.
from load, yeah, okay.
But yeah, but only for the checking is just checking just printing the lines just to make sure that everything is fine. So you can see this is the process that we did. And mounting locations are very important. So if you have any requirement about your files, you need to check with your team, admin team, to make sure that your locations are mounted. How this will works in the real time is um, basically they'll ask the variable path, the input path as one of the variable. For example, here you define the path, right? Normally, in real time, you will not define path manually. We'll give as a variable like something like this. Um,
Oh,
do- dollar uh, in in file sales suppose data something like this will give.
oh,
When you give this, when you execute your job in the airflow in the variables, you have to give the location here of this location. What mean in file sales? The value is
oh,
this one. We will see this in the next practicals. You can use like this. So it will save like this. So we will not use the path because these locations will go to the Git repo, right? We will not share the location files and everything. So we can use this. We will see this how we can configure. But yeah, this is the way we can do it. Um, and sometimes you can import your variables. If you have more variables in a in a text file or something, you can do it, or you can choose the files and you can upload.
Okay.
Like this you can use it. Yeah. So this is the way you do in real time. But here we just passed the values directly. That's the only difference, except that everything is same. Everything is same. You do the same. You play with the same. Only thing is, this is the Git repo. You're going to do the Git clone and Git update, Git push, and those things. And this new file is going to push into your new repo, into your Git repo, and from there
Oh,
the pulling will happen and the deployment will happen to the DAGs. um, that we'll discuss the how CSAD will work in the later. But yeah, that's the only you do. So 99% of whatever we are doing, the same thing you do in real time. Only that 1% is you take a admin support for deploying these variables and the values or anything. They'll take care of those tasks.
oh, okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'll explain a workflow from
Yeah.
what I'm going to supposed to work. Okay. Can we
Okay.
replace? Can we create like that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure, we can do it. No problem.
I think yeah. Okay. Otherwise, I will give in pseudo code so then you can check and explain to me how exactly they did.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. We'll do it.
Oh, okay, I'll practice this one today. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. It is
yeah.
similar to the DAGs are similar
Mhm.
like this, like taking a file and putting into
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
place to the other file. That's the only thing we do.
Yeah. Exactly. So this see everywhere, any project using Airflow, we do this approach only. So you do only thing is it totally depends upon what is your source and destination. So
Okay.
if you have any, only thing is that you see difference when you use the different operators. If you use the same operator, you see the almost same functionality. Like most of the use cases, they use Python operator mandatory. That's the mandatory thing. We will use it. Um, but there are other operators like S3 or some DB2 or anything. It depends upon like reading input data and loading, writing output data. In between, we use Python operators only for executing, for transformations, those relators. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's good.
Thank you,
So
man.
yeah, you can, no problem. You can go through it. I'll share this, everything. You can practice this and uh, yeah, we'll catch tomorrow with the next things.